Hi, my name's Lee.
I'm Michael.
We're with TredWear, and today we wanted to introduce you to Translammed.
Translammed is a project that we've come up with as a follow-up to Scraptona. Scraptona has been an awesome experience. Full chassis build car. It's a wing car, so it's kind of like a holy grail, and we're really glad that we got it done. But this next project, we wanted to be something that was more of an everyday driver, kind of a hot rod. So, with this, it was so much of a race car that it's not necessarily something that you can just hop in and go to the corner. So when we were looking at chassis options, we looked out there to see what was available, and we found...
Yeah, this Z06, it's an 03. It'd been damaged, had a light front end tap to it, so the fender was messed up, bumper was screwed up, headlight, bucket housing. The title was lost somewhere between here and there, but everything checked out as far as that goes. So we purchased it at a good price, and we brought it in, we started stripping it down.
Yeah, so the thing about the difference between a full chassis build and using something like the Z06 as a donor is with the Z06, everything you need is already done mechanically. So we've got a chassis, we've got an LS6 that makes 420 horsepower, we've got air conditioning, believe it or not. So we looked at this chassis, we're like, what could we put on this chassis that would be as iconic, maybe not as iconic as a wing car, but another iconic car. And Lee and I, our favorites have always been, the Bandit Trans Am.
Trans Am, yeah. The
So,
big wing on the hood. I remember the first time I saw one of those.
Phoenix on the hood.
Yeah, Phoenix, sorry. I was like 3 years old, and a friend of my grandfather's came up, and he pulled up in a gold one and had that big, huge Firebird Phoenix on the hood, and I was just like, wow, that's awesome. So,
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, it really does something with your childhood. I remember when I was a kid, staring out the window, driving down the interstate. If you ever saw a Firebird and it rolled by and it wasn't a Trans Am, it was worthless. I was like, if it doesn't have the shaker hood,
Yeah.
if it doesn't have the Phoenix, if it doesn't have all the spats and the flares,
Oh, it's just such a huge disappointment.
it's like, why would you go so far and not get the Trans Am?
Might as well.
It was inconceivable. So we went and found an old '77 Formula Firebird. It's not a Trans Am, but it's basically the same thing. And it was I don't know.
It was a good deal.
It was a great deal, and it wasn't restorable really. It had rust in places that you weren't going to fix it, and it had the old anemic 301 in it and things like that. And that's another thing. If you want to go and daily drive a Trans Am, for example, and I've had one before, and they're great cars. The way they run, the way they feel, but it's a 10 mile per gallon gas guzzler. It doesn't do anything well as far as handling. And so if you're going to take a Trans Am, you're going to put an LS swap in it, you're going to do all the chassis upgrades and make it where it's a modern driver, you're going to spend big bucks on that too.
Big bucks.
So
Big bucks.
the idea was to take some of the things that we learned with Scraptona and do a road racing Trans Am using a C5 Z06 chassis as a donor. And
Yeah.
So far it's working out real well.
Yes, yeah. Rule number one, when you're doing a build like this, do not do a full chassis build. It is mega bucks. It's very expensive. That's what we learned on this right here. And sure, it's really cool. You can get the stance that you want. I mean, for example, with the wing cars, they always set up so high, really high in the air.
And tiny little wheels and tires.
Oh yeah, the proportions are a little bit awkward. But the cool thing about this, with the full chassis build, is we were able to get it down on the ground, get it nice and wide, get the platform we want, and that's great. That is fantastic. But lots of money. Lots of money.
Yeah, cubic dollars. I mean, just the chassis itself is going to cost you 15 grand on something like that.
That's still doing it on the cheap.
Yeah. I mean, if you really just pay someone to do everything, not like we did, we try to do a lot of stuff ourselves, you're going to end up with 6 figures easily in a build.
Very easy.
And although that's great for some people, we don't have that kind of cash laying around. So
No.
So anyway, this idea of the Z06 chassis. And again, any C5 Corvette, and these things are incredible bargains right now.
Absolutely.
And people, and they make a lot of power, and so people are they tend to overdo it and run them off the road and do terrible things to them. And so you can find some fantastic deals out there. So guys, keep your eyes open. And another thing that kind of cued us off to this is these guys building vet carts. I don't know if you guys have seen any of these.
Oh yeah, the exoskeleton vet cart deal.
So so a vet cart, for example, done our research, and they're generally about 1,200 pounds lighter than a C5.
Yeah.
And so what we've done is we've basically done a vet cart and skinned it with the lightest weight possible leftovers of the Trans Am body. And we're using fiberglass doors. we're actually, another way that we're having to make this work is we're shortening the body. Now you got to be really careful when you do things like that. When you start messing around with the proportions of factory design, and of course they spent millions of dollars and thousands of man hours designing these things. So you better be very careful when you do that. But we've done a lot of research, and what we're doing is we're shortening it in the door area because the doors are so long. Have you guys ever seen one of these these second gen Firebirds, Camaros? They have these stupid long doors.
Yeah.
And of course we're changing it to a two-seater anyway, so we're taking it out of the door. We're taking it out of the T-bar roof. Now there's some complications there.
Yes.
We're going to find out that we're going to make our own T-tops, and that's going to be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
We'll take you guys along on that.
We're excited about that. So
The whole thing about this, first of all, is that we love race cars. We race Lemons, and the idea of having a race car you can drive on the street is kind of this holy grail we keep chasing. And we went a little too far with the dial-on race car with Strattona. It's too much of a race car. But we've learned a lot from building Strattona and looking at race cars in general, how they hang the bodies on the chassis and things like that. And so that's kind of the kind of things that we're using on this. And we've brought a lot of friends along on this project already. So Holly's involved, and they're gonna supply us with a high ram and some other great things for our LS. Alden American is going to hook us up with
suspension components.
Yeah, well, and especially the coilover kit conversion for a C5, and that's a great upgrade if you're just going to track your C5, because these the transverse fiberglass leaf springs, they don't have there's no adjustability there to speak of, and so the coilover conversion makes a really good performance upgrade. So we're going to be doing that. Who else do we have on board?
American Racing with the wheels.
American Racing hooked us up with a sweet deal on these 12-inch in the back, 10-inch in the front wheels, and we're going to be building some turbo fins probably for the wheel covers, like the old IMSA race cars. And anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. So
oh yeah, and one of the next sponsors that we're going to be looking for, seats. We need some cool seats.
If you guys know anybody from Kirky or Sparco or somebody like that, we're going to put different seats in the car. For the most part, the rest of the interior is going to stay largely intact.
Yes.
Because it's all there, it's all works, and so.
Yeah,
but,
I'm really jonesing for the heads-up display. It's in the C5s. I love it.
We don't know if that's going to work or not. But the other thing that we're going to be looking for is an exhaust sponsor. We're going to do long tubes on the car, and so we expect the car to generate just north of 500 horsepower when we're done. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So again, we're super excited to bring you guys along with this. Any comments are welcome. And please hit that subscribe button at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy it.
Have a great day.